Well, everybody, this has certainly been an interesting and exciting and productive year for the NBEDC team, our many partners, and of course, the City of New Bedford. We're going to have a great meeting tonight, but before we get into that, what I want to do is just thank our good friends here at the New Bedford Harbor Hotel for hosting the event this year. This was a construction site no fewer than 6 months ago. Let's not forget that. And from the first day that Angela and I started coming to the hotel, checking on the progress of construction, we knew that this was the space that we wanted to have our meeting in for this year. Just the transformation of this space we thought would be a great reminder for the transformation that's happening, not only in New Bedford and in downtown, but in the waterfront as well. And as in recent years, much of our work in FY18 has been focused on the Port of New Bedford, strengthening its position in the Commonwealth as an economic engine unto itself. To that end, we continue to have the greatest partnership with the New Bedford Port Authority and no greater friends than Ed Washburn and his staff home based at the Wharfinger Building. But our work at the EDC goes beyond the waterfront and the downtown, really to every corner of the city. And in this year's annual report, we highlight another busy year with much to be proud of. Perhaps the most exciting project for us on staff was the development of the city's first arts and culture plan, a comprehensive plan that was citywide. There were dozens of folks to whom we are grateful for their time and energy to get this done. Folks that served on the steering committee, folks in city departments, and certainly the mayor and his staff as well. But I want to take a minute and to thank someone in particular. She couldn't be here tonight, but that's okay, we'll embarrass her anyway. And that's Margot Saulnier. So Margot is our creative strategist at the EDC, and Margot took the notion of committing to the effort to the ultimate level. So Margot moved from Boston to New Bedford to be closer to the work of doing the plan. But to go one step further, she moved across the street from Angela Johnston, our Director of Business Development, certainly with staff encouragement to do so. So we are shameless, right? And clearly we'll do almost anything to attract great talent and investment dollars to our city. And not just in the area of arts and culture or maritime industries, but in all sectors that are good fit for the city's economy and our workforce. At the EDC, we do everything that we can do every day to foster and promote an environment for the private sector to invest and create jobs. It is simply the work that we are tasked with day in and day out. But we cannot do that work or have any accomplishments without strong and meaningful partnerships. That all begins with Mayor Mitchell, the New Bedford City Council, and all of our friends and partners in all the city departments that we work with every day. Also, Mass Development, UMass Dartmouth, Bristol Community College, Leadership South Coast, the Workforce Investment Board, and so many others. There is really no area of our activity that is not driven by this team-based approach. And it is this approach that allows a small staff to work on a varied and complex development agenda every year. Just a few months ago, we were here with Lauren Liss in Mass Development cutting the ribbon on this $10 million boutique hotel. A few months ago, we actually worked with Plumber Supply as they broke ground on an $18 million corporate headquarters and distribution center in the New Bedford Business Park. We're very excited about that. We're literally at it every day with more than $100 million in historic mill rehabilitation projects going on right now. Terry Burnett from Whale is here, and Terry and Ramon have been hard at it with those efforts as well. But most importantly, through our lending and assistance programs, we have continued to work with our greatest partners, the small business owners, as their hard work in neighborhoods throughout New Bedford continues to make this a place that is better for everyone. Now that's a lot of work for a volunteer board and a full-time staff of 6, but if you know this group of folks, it's really not that big of a stretch, right? As the mayor is always saying, Derek, we have to out-hustle everyone else, right? So of course, he's right. And I get to work with a group of folks, both on board and staff, who have completely bought into that mindset. So our board, under Tony's tireless leadership, continues to expertly guide our agenda for sustainable development. And our staff, the people that I spend time with more than almost anyone, is a group of dedicated professionals who are constantly looking to improve what we do. Deborah, Nancy, Ramon, Angela, and now Margot. They are not only my co-workers, but they are some of my dearest friends. And I say this every year because it's true. Their hard work pushes me to work even harder. And their smarts and creativity keep me constantly thinking about how we can get even more done in the year ahead. And I'm sure they're all very excited to hear that. But simply put, we are lucky to have them at the EDC. I know I am lucky that they put up with me even for another hour. So I'm wondering if we just can't give those guys a round of applause. Well deserved. I also want to offer our thanks to all those entities and organizations that support us through grants and corporate sponsorships throughout the year. All are listed in our annual report, so you should certainly grab a copy. A special thank you, though, goes to Bristol County Savings Bank for being our leading sponsor again this year. Specifically, Pat Murray, the President and CEO, and Pete Selly, the Senior Vice President of Commercial Lending, and the longtime and magnificent Chairman of our own Lending Committee. Oh, we love Pete. We love Pete. As a community bank, Bristol County Savings has always placed a premium on supporting and investing in the communities that they serve. They take great pride in working with organizations, schools, and government agencies to meet the growing needs of the population and to support the local economy. Beyond the EDC, the bank has partnered with the City of New Bedford, the Zoo, Whale, and many others. We know that Bristol County Savings feels strongly that working collaboratively creates the most positive impact within the New Bedford community, and we could not agree more. Please join me in welcoming and thanking Patrick Murray, President of Bristol County Savings Bank.
Thank you, Derek. Boy, it's been a busy day in New Bedford today, huh? Nothing going on, is there? Wow, and having two big events in one day, I give you a lot of credit. But as Derek mentioned before, it's just not been a busy day today, it's been a busy year and everything that's happening right here in the city of New Bedford. There's a lot going on, whether it's the wind energy, whether it's the business parks, whether it's about the regeneration that's going on. But as Derek mentioned, it all comes down to collaboration, and it all comes down to people. So I really want to thank Derek and his staff for everything that's going on and his involvement of the business community in that. Thank you so much. And it comes down to people. So on behalf of all the people, all the corporate sponsorships that go in to help the EDC do great things, I want to thank them as well. And we are honored to be a part of this annual meeting tonight. Talking about people, it's my job tonight to introduce the mayor. And I said it only had 2 minutes, so there's a lot I can say about John in 2 minutes. But there's a couple other people there's a couple other people I'd like to recognize tonight. First of all, Pete. Pete Selly has been involved with the EDC for nearly 30 years. 20 years, I'm sorry, 20 years. He's been with the bank. The information I got today was wrong then, Pete. He's been involved with the bank, and I know this number is right, for 22 years. Pete Selly, since the day he started at Bristol County Savings Bank, day in and day out, advocated for the bank to come to the area and come specifically to New Bedford. Born and raised right here in the city, Pete brought a lot. And it didn't take, with everything that's going on in this city, it did not take a lot of arm twisting to get us here. Thanks, Pete. Pete will be retiring. Pete's retiring later on next year in March, but I'm sure he'll be involved with the bank and advocating for New Bedford the way he has for the past 22 years. I also want to recognize another person that's been a part of our New Bedford scene for a long, long time and will be retiring probably mid next year. And that's another person that lives right around the block, and that's Jack Silver, who's in the back of the room tonight. Both have been very, very involved with EDC for many years, and we've got a couple of people coming up in their footsteps that are also going to take the reins with EDC, and that's Jeff Paliuker and Michael Patico. So we're here to stay. You know, we've been here since 2010 when we opened the branch on Ashley. We followed that up with a couple of branch acquisitions in 2012, and most recently, the opening of our building in the Candleworks building. One of the things that we're very proud of, we just found out, is that our office in the Candleworks branch will be part of the New Bedford Preservation Society holiday tour this year on December 15th and 16th. Michelle, who's here, as well as Nancy, who's branch manager there, are already working on their decorating plan. I think this is going to cost us. Money very well spent, Joe. Turning our attention to the city of New Bedford. As our name connotates, Bristol County, we are located in Attleboro, Taunton, Fall River, and right here in the great city of New Bedford. And I will tell you that we get involved with economic development in those cities as well. Those cities are jealous of what's going on here in the city of New Bedford. Derek said it right. The partnerships that we've been able to develop here in New Bedford with not just the business community, but with mass housing, mass development, everybody else, they are jealous of what's going on here. And that takes a lot of hard work to make that happen. And we have a mayor that understands that, and the collaboration between the business community and government here in New Bedford is the envy of Bristol County. And John, we want to thank you for that. We want to thank you for hearing and partnering with us to make sure that we continue down the road to make New Bedford the great city that it is. And with that, I'd like to introduce our mayor, John Mitchell. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Pat. So a couple things. So I'm sure I'm going to gesture like this, and you're going to look at this thing, and some of you had to endure the explanation earlier today. I'm not going to repeat it because it's slightly embarrassing.
That's a man cold. Cut it out.
No. All I'll say is that we only had blue or purple Band-Aids in the house. They were the kids, and that's why it's so good. Never mind. Anyway, I'm going to keep that hand in my pocket and clap silently afterward. So a couple of things. So first of all, let me welcome everybody who was in attendance today at the Offshore Wind Conference. Really great conference, guys, and really substantive, really thoughtful, and it was a great exchange of ideas. And I want to especially welcome our friends from across the pond. I know some of you are in here today. I'm not. Who's left? They're all next door having a pint. Got it. Well done. No, they are welcome here. So, no, it was really a great event. And I just really want to thank Laura Douglas and her team, and Derek and his team, Angela, and of course Jen Menard, as well as Neil Mello, and everybody who played a part. Paul Vigen, of course, everybody who played a part in putting it together, because it was really thoughtful and really well done, and when you get right down to it, really exciting. The possibilities are, as we've been working on this for a long time, and it's, from my vantage point, it's great to see the level of teamwork. Everybody's contributing something, and they're all, it took a while to evangelize offshore wind. Now everybody buys into it. Now everybody's working at it, and fast forward 20 years from now, people are going to say, you know what, you guys are doing the right thing at the right time, and that's what we're shooting for. Let me, without any further ado, just thank Derek for all of the hard work that he's done, and his leadership, and his ability to bring people together. I mean, he named a lot of folks, all of whom deserve credit, except, of course, himself, and that's my job. I can't thank Derek enough for the partnership, for the ideas exchange, but also his willingness just to roll up his sleeves and to dive into things and learn and react and create. And it's been an amazing run over the last few years. He's the EDC director, and since January of 12, I was just looking at this the other day, 5,500 jobs, more jobs in this city, which is quite remarkable, and really puts us in favorable comparison with any city roughly of our size anywhere, not just in Massachusetts, but in all of the United States. So I just ask everybody to Join me in a round of applause for Derek's hard work. And I want to thank, of course, the board and Tony's leadership and all of you guys for what you do on a regular basis. It's been one of the hallmarks of our work in New Bedford is the continuity, and you guys have been working very collaboratively with one another for a while, and Derek's been in place for a while, and the team's been in place for a while, and it's really showing. It really matters that, and there are lots of cities that don't have that continuity, and I think suffer as a result of it. So, the board's leadership is really, really key. I do want to say, I think a lot of the objective measures, again, jobs created, permitting, business starts, all that stuff is, the scoreboard really speaks for itself. But there were a couple things that I just wanted to mention today that I think I'm especially proud of the work that we've all done. So, you've heard me say some of this before, and I try to put, our efforts in context. We live, in many ways, New Bedford is sort of swimming against the tide, right? So, the trends that led to, disinvestment in manufacturing and flight of capital from here over the last 5 decades have only, to my mind, accelerated nationally in places like New Bedford over the last decade. And that is, and you see it all the time. I was on a Boston radio program yesterday, and I said, every time I go to Boston or, another major metro, I can't help but have a little bit of construction crane envy and look around and I just think, my God, look at how everything is booming here. And we do indeed have to hustle, right? It's those places. It's those places that have certain attributes that in today's economy matter an awful lot. The international airport, the big research institutions. I was asked by the moderator on the radio yesterday whether I agreed with Jay Gonzalez's proposal about taxing MIT and Harvard. I'm like, go right ahead. We don't have MIT or Harvard here. Sounds good to me. And there are other attributes, right? So that density begets more density. It creates its own gravity. And so, we have known for a while that we have to hustle, right, for more. Like everything is an effort more than it is in other places. And I'm personally envious of some of the jobs that other mayors have around the country where developers bang on their doors and they can't get away from them. Well, we've got to chase it down. And I'm here to say a couple things. So first of all, indeed, we are out hustling everybody else. That is, as Derek alluded to, we are doing that. And it shows, and people know it. People know that we're hungry when we have investors who are out there, whether they come here or whether they're out there somewhere within our reach, we chase them down. We do that, and we make a very strong business case for this place. And so we are hustling. The other thing that we're doing is, and this is something that's really new to New Bedford, and that's this. We plan better than New Bedford has ever planned before. And we execute better than New Bedford has ever done before, and we do it in a way that is highly collaborative. And so, just sort of drawing from my experience as a trial attorney, I brought a couple of exhibits just to prove the point. Yes. So, so a few years ago, the regeneration, we had this idea of creating a regeneration committee, and we took the term from the work that the Lincoln Institute had done on America's legacy cities, right? And so we knew that, and it created a good roadmap for investment and capital attraction and job creation. We thought, well, let's try to bring everybody together, and better that it be done not by city government but by the business community, right? It just comes with a lot more credibility for two reasons. One, that business folks know a lot more about investment than municipal folks like me, but secondly, that in creating a plan, we would have buy-in, right? There would be more people who would say, amen, let's go do it. And so, and the effort that would elicit from folks would beget some good things. So that's what we did all together, and that generated this, right? So many of you have seen this and were part of this, and so this was a plan that was generated by the Regeneration Committee, headed up by Jerry Kavanaugh and Tony, and so many of you in the room here. That was new, not entirely new for New Bedford. I mean, there had been planning efforts, collaborative planning efforts before, but what I think was new was what's happened since then, which are two things. One, government, municipal government, the EDC, the Port Authority, everybody, and the business community executed on it. Executed, and got it done. And there were some, 14 strategy points. So of those 14, just about everyone is either complete or substantially complete. And the ones that aren't are ones that are largely out of our control or substantially out of our control. So we took it seriously. We took the plan seriously. Everybody took it seriously and made it happen. And that sort of thing is not happening in metro areas of our size, right? You know, we're a city of 100,000 and a metro area roughly of 200,000, right? So cities in metro areas of that size aren't doing this kind of thing, by and large, around the United States. They have to if they are to continue to compete in a global economy and create opportunities for their residents. That's what happened, the execution. The second thing that happened is we all went back and made another plan to succeed it. And so therein lies the start of institutionalizing these efforts. And I've said before, and I'll continue to say, mayors come and go. Municipal government is an essential partner in the effort, but it is a partner. It is really the effort of institutions here, both private and for both profit and nonprofit institutions, to make these things happen. And herein lies the new plan. And this was again the work of the Regeneration Committee, which has gotten larger and more inclusive and has yielded a report that makes a lot of sense. It's focused on drawing capital to the urban core, building up the urban core. New Bedford's role as the center of southeastern Mass. It's leveraging to the hilt the Port of New Bedford, the capital that is there, the networks there, the innovation that's taking place there, all of it. And because that's what we do. You know, we were up in the Whaling Museum, the Harborview Gallery today, and I said to somebody, I was to Congressman Kennedy, I said, look, this is what we do here. We leverage that to its highest, pointing to the port. That's our competitive advantage more than anything else. We have lots of other things. I mean, the arts community, the cultural sector, for sure, another one, right? But it's these things that if we make the very most of them, if we accentuate those positive attributes, we will see capital come here. We will continue to grow businesses. We'll continue to create jobs that allow people to do the things that they need to do to live a good life here, right? To put a roof over their head, to live in a strong neighborhood, to send their kids to college and otherwise live the American dream. That's at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. And that's how strong communities are built. And there may be other places that are still trying to figure it out. But thanks to the work that you guys are doing and in anticipation of future efforts, you guys deserve tremendous credit for making it happen. And we've got a lot of work. The work never ends, of course, but we have tremendous momentum right now. And even as the business cycle turns down, as it inevitably will, and you can put a dozen economists in the room and they will give you, a dozen different answers as to when that'll happen, but it'll happen at some point. But we'll be prepared because we've done all that work to continue on and forge ahead and make things happen. So hats off to you guys. You really have done something special here, and we're in the business of building a city. That is the work we're in. Call us a gateway, call us a legacy, call us whatever. It is still the same kind, fundamentally the same kind of effort that the likes of New York and Los Angeles and Chicago undertake. What does it take to be competitive? What does it take to build a high quality of life for your residents now and in the long run? And for our city, you guys are doing a hell of a job, and I really appreciate all the work that's being done. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mayor, and welcome everyone. And very well said about this wonderful city that we live in this great South Coast region that we're all a part of. I'll have a bit more to say later in my President's report about our great and many partners, but our relationship with Mayor Mitchell and everyone at City Hall really does top the list. Having such a close and strong relationship is most critical to our efforts to drive progressive policy, attract new investment, and support private sector job growth. Again, thank you, Mayor, for your kind words and continued support. On behalf of the entire board, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the elected officials who have joined us today for their continued support of the EDC and the economic growth of this great city. And I have my list in front of me, so I would like to welcome Brad Markey, the City Councilor, Hugh Dunn, the City Councilor, and Dana Rivera, the City Councilor, who are all here. Thank you for being here. I would also like to thank Pat Murray, the President of Bristol County Savings Bank, for his remarks. Pat is a thoughtful community leader, and he plays quite an active role on our Regeneration Committee. We thank him, Pete Sully, and everyone at the bank for their continued support of the NBEDC mission. Remember, their newest location is right down the street at the Candleworks building. Well, I mean, you paid for the event, might as well give you a plug, right? You can get your banking done and also have an amazing dinner downstairs at the Candleworks building. I will now officially call to order the 2018 annual meeting of the New Bedford Economic Development Council to order. At this time, I would like to ask Carol Pimentel, the Director of Internal Audit and Administrative Services for UMass Dartmouth, retired, and our clerk to deliver her report. Carol?
Clerk's report. Approval of the minutes of the previous annual meeting, October 25th, 2017. The minutes of the 2017 annual meeting have been distributed to the members. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the previous annual meeting held October 25th, 2017?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I will call the question. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The minutes of the October 25th, 2017 annual meeting have been approved. I will now call on David Schlitz, the Managing Director of... Schlitz? That was intentional. That was intentional.
Bad enough, I'm cheating on both with the
Director of Potentia Business Solutions, hometown brewer, and our treasurer to deliver his report. David?
Thank you, Carol.
You're welcome, David.
Freudian slip by Carol, I guess, right? Well, we were together last week, and I had to read. You know, reading is not fundamental in my book. So I want to do something first and give a shout-out to Scott Service. Scott, where are you? Does everybody know the airport manager, Scott Service? If you don't, go get to know this man. We're doing this new consulting, a new report, what we want to be when we grow up at the airport. This guy and Mike are leading the airport to great new things. Go introduce yourself to Scott, learn about the airport, and the report comes out in a couple of months. It's going to be dynamite. So there's your shout-out, Scott. I mean, I love the port, too, but we got to give the airport some kudos here, so. All right, thank you, Carol. Fiscal year 2018 was another solid year for the New Bedford EDC. Net income over $1.2 million. Even with the bigger font, I still can't read this.
I read it.
Okay. Securing over $119,000 in grants to support technical assistance programs. Our partners include the SBA, SCORE, Mass Growth Capital. We've worked to create a series of workshops at the Quest Center to help support small business get off the ground. Technical assistance is a big deal to these folks, to help them write business plans and do a lot of things that a lot of us just take for granted. The lending program. 13 New Bedford businesses loans totaling $657,000. Combined, these loans responsible for the creation of 26 new jobs throughout the city and leveraged approximately $250,000 of private investment. The total loan portfolio right now at year-end is $3.5 million. Not bad for a group of 6 people. Which, by the way, when you spend time up north, I just bought a machining operation in Lowell. I think their EDC is like 4 times the size of ours, and they're not getting near as much stuff done as we are. Just another point. It's true. Fiscal year 18, we administered programs to foster arts and culture. I think this is the first time in the Commonwealth of Mass that we've had this kind of commitment with the money. $100,000 from the city, $199,000 spent in total to highlight the fact that there's more than just business here. And to build a bright, vibrant community, you need this side plus this side. And we're actually doing that, which is exciting. Bristol County Savings Bank also contributed $25,000 and Mass Development $40,000 to the TDI program. So hats off, guys. We continued our efforts to solidify a more solid and stable lending program. The loan loss reserves are up to $761,000, which is a full 22% of our portfolio. So we're well secured because we obviously are doing some non-traditional lending in many cases, so it's nice to have that reserve built up. Balance sheet, $4.5 million in assets supporting $1 million in liabilities. I think we'd all like to have that balance sheet in our own businesses, correct? Yes, I don't have that, so. With that, I'd also like to give some kudos to Deb. Deb, where are you? Yeah, you make this really easy, Deborah, by the way, so thank you very much. Accounting can be fun, and Deb makes it fun. Our audited financials are available here if you want to read them. I'd recommend maybe skipping that part and going right to the bar afterwards. But in any event, or you can see myself or Deborah for more details. Do I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report? Motion. Thank you, Carol. A second? All right. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next page. In closing, we'd like to thank the many partners who make this possible and share our commitment to New Bedford going forward. The list is long. We've had a lot of thank yous, so I'll skip more of those for right now. I would like to ask my best friend Joe, who fell down the stairs earlier today and broke his arm, to recently retired Executive VP of Corporate Legal at the Acushnet Company, come up and present the business portion of the meeting. Joseph?
Thank you, David. I'll take the mayor's cue and I won't discuss my injury. Suffice it to say that I did not call the heavy hitter or the hurt line. All right. According to the bylaws, the council members shall be elected to council membership by a majority of the existing council members at the annual meeting. In your information that you received, there's a list of the new council members that are up for election. And so I'd like to have a motion to elect those new organizations and individuals to the council. Is there a motion? A second?
Second.
Do I hear any additional nominations from the floor? Hearing none. Do I hear any discussion? Hearing none. Can I have a vote on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The 2018 council has been elected. We'll move to the election of the Board of Directors. Again, according to the bylaws, the nominating committee nominates David Slutz, not Schlitz, Managing Director, Potentia Business Solutions, to a 3-year term representing private industry to expire in 2021. Do I hear a motion to re-elect David Slutz to a 3-year term expiring 2021? Second.
Second.
Do I hear any additional nominations from the floor? Do I hear any discussion? Hearing none, I call the vote to re-elect David Slutz to the board. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Carol?
No.
Okay. The motion carries. David, congratulations. The nominating committee also has nominated Steve Kenyon, Vice President for Administration and Finance, Bristol Community College, to a 3-year term representing the community to expire in 2021. Do I hear a motion to re-elect Steve Kenyon to a 3-year term expiring 2021?
So moved.
A second. Any additional nominations from the floor? Any discussion? Excuse me. Hearing none, I call the vote to re-elect Steve Kenyon to the board. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The motion carries. Congratulations, Steve. I will now continue the election of officers. According to the bylaws, the officers of the organization are to be elected at the annual meeting. The nominating committee nominates the following slate of officers. President, Anthony Sapienza, retired President, J.A. Apparel Corporation. Vice President, yours truly, retired Executive Vice President, Corporate and Legal, Acushnet Company. Treasurer, David Slutz, Managing Director, Potentia Business Solutions. Clerk, Carol Pimentel, Director, Internal Audit and Administrative Services, University of Massachusetts, retired. Do I hear any additional nominations from the floor? Any discussion? Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? The motion carries, and the slate has been voted in for the next year. That concludes our election. I now call upon Tony to deliver the President's address.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you for re-electing me to the president. It is, on behalf, let me start by saying this. First of all, I just want to call out the other members of this board of directors. We mentioned their names, but please, I'd like you all to stand because I think it's important. We have Helena De Silva, Liz Isherwood, Joe Nauman, who you've met, David Slutz, Carol Pimentel, John Vasconcelos, Steve Kenyon, newly elected, and Pete Sully, who represents the Loan Committee on the board. And of course, the mayor is an integral part of what we do as well. But these are the folks who set the policy, who interpret, what many of you say to them about what is important, and we communicate that to the staff and try to set a plan that makes things happen. So thank them and thank you all for your service. On behalf of the Board of Directors and staff, it gives me great pleasure to report that this has been another exciting and productive year for the New Bedford Economic Development Council. In fact, today's activities alone, with our offshore wind symposium just wrapping up, serve as a perfect example of the level of energy and enthusiasm that is continuing to build in New Bedford. And while I seem to say it every year, this point cannot be stressed enough. This work is only possible because of our partners and our council members who join us today. Each of you, as members of the Economic Development Council, continue to play a critical leadership role in our efforts. And I want to thank you for your service, continued commitment, and strong support. To the Board of Directors, I thank you for your excellent leadership of this volunteer organization. And as a board, we applaud the effort and dedication of our staff, which has made so much of this year's success possible. But I want to single out a specific member of the NBEDC family this year who's already been singled out, but I'm going to single him out again. That's Peter Selly, who will be retiring from Bristol County Savings Bank early next year. Pete has been the chairman of our lending committee for decades, and much of our success with assisting small and family-owned businesses in New Bedford is because of Pete's dedication and leadership. Pete, please come up here so we can all offer you a small token of our appreciation as you, quote, "come around in your retirement."
Pete, we understand that there's a lot lacking in your golf game. We can only bite off so much, so we're going to try to help you with one part of it, and that is to get you a great putter in your hand.
Thank you, Joe.
If you take off the putter cover,
Scotty Cameron, huh?
you might notice that there are dollar signs all over the cover,
Well, I
quite
see that.
apropos.
Yeah, quite apropos, yes.
On the face of it,
It's got my name on it. Wow.
did we spell that correctly, Pete?
P-E-T-E, that's pretty easy to spell, I guess.
And then on the back
On
side,
the backside,
it says,
NBEDC, very nice.
and move your thumb,
Let me try it out.
No, no,
first,
no, no,
see if I
no.
like it.
No,
Let me see if I
no,
like
no,
it.
no, Pete,
Oh,
Pete,
okay.
Pete.
With my thumb.
turn,
Turn, okay. Oh, ace.
NBDC ACE with a dollar sign.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Because Pete has been ace for the NBEDC for many, many years.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Well, I
now,
can't lose this cover.
no. Okay, let's get back to the regular program. Even a quick glance at this year's annual report demonstrates the remarkable amount of activity and progress across the city. We have cut the ribbon on this fantastic boutique hotel, broke ground for new corporate facilities in the business park, and have seen arts and culture take center stage like never before. These are but a few of the examples of how our dogged efforts yield tangible results as the overall positive trends in new investment and job creation that we have witnessed over the previous years continue. Rest assured, we do all we can to ensure the City of New Bedford is in a strong position to take maximum advantage of a strengthening statewide and national economy. My good friend the mayor will simply not accept anything less from us. As such, our Regeneration Committee has just released their new report, Realizing the Potential, a City of Innovation, Collaborative Leadership, and Creativity, at the Mass Inc.'s annual Gateway Cities event at the Whaling Museum just 2 weeks ago. This report identifies what can be the strategic pillars to a fully transformative New Bedford economy. An economy that is based on our eternal connections to the sea, our willingness to take risk and invent new ways of doing things, and our understanding that it will take the voices and hard work of many diverse contributors to accomplish our goals. I want to say a special thanks to all of the council members who serve on the Regeneration Committee for their hard work throughout the year. Truly a team effort. I want to stress again that we could not do this work without our many partners in the public and private sector. We thank all of our partners for their energy and talent and look forward to continuing the good work underway throughout the city. Great examples of this work include the grassroots campaign for quote, Love the Avenue, our offshore wind efforts with the Mayor's Office, the New Bedford Port Authority, and Bristol Community College, and our ever stronger relationship with UMass Dartmouth. With Chancellor Johnson at the helm, we know that our port, city, and region have one of the strongest possible partners at our side as we look into the future of a maritime-based economy that brings together tradition, new technology, and innovation. A future that is tailor-made? No, I shouldn't say that. Well, I mean, whoever writes this stuff should know they shouldn't put those tailor-made stuff in. I mean, really. Anyway, excuse the pun. The future that is tailor-made for New Bedford to play a leadership role for decades to come. Prior to his 2017 appointment, Dr. Johnson was president of Becker College in Worcester, Massachusetts for 7 years, leading the college's evolution into an adaptive, nimble, and entrepreneurial institution that is a model for colleges and universities across the United States. His unyielding belief in higher education as a public good has led him to dedicate more than a quarter century to ensuring educational opportunity that transforms lives. Dr. Johnson is a member of the Council on Competitiveness and serves on the Executive Committee of the Massachusetts Business Roundtable. He's also served on the Massachusetts Board of Higher Education as Vice Chair of the Massachusetts Technology Collaborative and as Chair of the Worcester Regional Chamber of Commerce. Clearly, he gets economic development. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Robert E. Johnson, the Chancellor of the University of Massachusetts at Boston.
Thank you, Tony, and it is an honor and a pleasure to be here. I had all of these prepared remarks, but I'm going to do something a little bit different because I think as I think about New Bedford and the leadership of Mayor Mitchell, there's this idea where they say where there is no vision, the people perish. And this city has had a vision under the leadership of Mayor Mitchell, this wonderful council, the leaders in this city who have provided decades of leadership and their legacy to build the city to what it is today. When we talk about the maritime economy, wind energy and a host of other things, the blue economy as some people call it, there's no other place on the planet like New Bedford that has a unique set of assets that can boldly take us where we have never gone before. I simply want to say to you, as we think about the future of New Bedford and this entire region, we should think in terms of two words, and that is, it's possible. It's possible for a city like New Bedford to rise again, if you will, to new heights, unlike the way that the world has ever seen. Yeah, I'm reminded about, Tony, when we think about industry. If we go back to the year 1900, there were over 100,000 large family farmers in the United States. The average American at that time made $1 a day. 90% of the wealth was owned by J.P. Morgan, the Vanderbilts, and the Rockefellers. And then came along a gentleman who located in my hometown by the name of Henry Ford. And he said, I have this idea that we're going to build a car that my employees can afford to buy. So instead of people making $1 a day, they made $5 a day. And that was the beginning of the great American century. By 1925, there were only 1,000. There were only 1,000 large family farmers, 100,000 to 1,000. Disruption had taken place and mass production had started to take off in this country. And the old economy jobs went away, textiles, and the new economy jobs came along in the automotive industry. And Detroit rose from the ashes and became, for a number of decades and a number of generations, a city that emerged with one of the largest and wealthiest middle classes in this country, unlike the world has ever seen. When I think about what you're doing here, Mr. Mayor, and I think about the maritime economy, the blue economy, regionalization, and the possibilities of what we can do if we simply work together, we're only limited by our imagination. When I think about the blue economy and our School of Marine Science and Technology, which is right here in New Bedford, I think about the wind energy that you're doing. I think about my recent trip to Washington, D.C. just a couple of days ago, talking to some people about underwater drones and funding from multiple resources. We're only limited by our imaginations. You see, it's possible, and you're right, Mr. Mayor, 20 years from now, they're going to say, somewhere along in the year 2015, 16, 17, there was a mayor and a cast of thousands with the Economic Development Council and others, and they got it right because this city is going to emerge. I'm reminded of the story of the Chinese bamboo tree. If you're familiar with the Chinese bamboo tree, in order for that tree to grow and to rise, every day you have to water it. Every single day. You got to clean the weeds from around it, and if you miss one day, the tree will die. Now, for 5 years, this tree never grows taller than 3 or 4 feet. The Chinese bamboo tree. But you got to water it every day, Mr. Mayor, as you've been doing through your terms and all of the leaders of this city. You got to water it every single day. It still only grows 3 or 4 feet. But then after 5 years, in about 6 weeks, after 5 years, that tree grows to over 80 feet tall. So the question is, did it take the tree 6 weeks or 5 years to grow 80 feet tall? It took it 5 years. And that's what you're doing here, Mr. Mayor. That's what we're doing here in this region. And if we work together, it's possible for, just like that Chinese bamboo tree, that people 20 years from now will call this the Silicon Valley of marine science and the maritime economy on the entire planet. It's possible that if we work together, when we at UMass Dartmouth, with all of our assets for research education and training, that we will work with Lord Douglas and rise up this generation of people, watering our young people one day at a time. And then one day they will emerge and they'll say, well, it seems like New Bedford schools just overnight, they were successful. But no, we nurtured it day after day after day. That's what we have to do in this economy. Work together. We're only limited by our imaginations. We are in this interesting age of disruption when we think about the future of work. So we don't need to think about or worry about how things have always been done. We get to write the rules for what will happen and what will be happening 20 years from now. And to the extent that we understand that as a region, with the leadership of the mayor and the city council and the business leaders and community leaders in this room, it's possible. It's possible for us to enable not only this city, but this entire region to boldly go where we have never gone before. I'm excited about the possibilities of the city of New Bedford, just like that Chinese bamboo tree, rising up, and it will appear as though overnight we had success. Look at what's going on in Worcester now. They talk about it being the it city. Because I just left there, I can tell you it didn't happen overnight. No, these things don't happen overnight, but with the careful planning and the leadership of this community, it's possible. So if we work together, and we look forward to working with you, my partner in crime, Lord Douglas, we're trying to figure out ways to uplift this community from an educational perspective. I met with the superintendent here a couple of weeks ago. We have some thoughts about things we can specifically do in the schools to raise up the next generation of young people. Because part of that equation is if we don't have a strong educational system, we're not going to be able to attract jobs and companies. And I think you've done quite well. Over 5,000 jobs over multiple years, that's pretty phenomenal. And we can become phenomenally phenomenal. That is our goal. And we don't have to necessarily attract the next Amazon or Google, but all of you have a garage, don't you? We can grow the next Amazon and Google, or should I say a boat? We can grow the next Amazon and Google in the maritime economy right here, right now. So, Mr. Mayor, to this wonderful group with the Economic Development Council, to all of the city leaders, I'm here to simply say that UMass Dartmouth, we're here with you. We're in it to win it. We're only limited by our imaginations. And as I leave, I just want to say, at the end of the day, it's really not complicated. If you think about history, when in the history of the world have you ever had a group of people who decided that they wanted to accomplish a common goal, and they worked together, shoulder to shoulder, and they were not successful? Well, that is who we are. This is what we are about. This is our time. So I'll simply leave you, since I am in education, Lauren, you can appreciate this, with something we all learned in grade school. And I simply call it the ABCs for economic success. And I want us to take an A and accept this challenge. Take a B and believe in the city of New Bedford. Take a C and call on our inner strength. Take a D and dedicate our lives to success. Take an E and educate each and every mind. Take an F and let's fight this fight. Let's take a G and get on with it. Let's take an H and hold on to the truth. Let's take an I and identify our strengths. Let's take a J and journey into the job is done. Let's take a K and keep on keeping on. Let's take an L and let love light our way. Let's take an M and make up our mind. Let's take an N and never give up. Let's take an O and open the door. Let's take a P and put one foot in front of the other. Let's take a Q and quit quitting. Let's take an R and run this race. Let's take an S and stay the course. Let's take a T and trust in our inner voice. Let's take a V and value our victory. Take a W and walk in the light. Take an X and X-ray our lifestyles. Take a Y and yearn for the truth. And take a Z and zealously take the city of New Bedford to places we've never gone before.